fucking dude. Like, you're a little fucking pissant kind of thing. Like, you're just a malcontent. You're angry at everything. And it was like, and in retrospect, I realized it was just like, oh yeah, there probably were a lot of factors that like added to that. Not only my genetics, but it was just like, probably just grown up in that scene, honestly, if you think about it. Like, you know, like just guys calling you discriminatory things and all this shit. And I just gravitated towards like kind of this whole abrasive musical style, which was almost like a personification in music form of how like my frustrations were. And it just grew, and it was kind of like you know, AC/DC, Megadeth, all these stuff. My group of friends changed, and they're listening to more heavy stuff, and it's just like this progression into more chaotic shit. And how I became a bass player was kind of weird. It was just like, yeah, I was playing, I started off on guitar, like I wasn't even that good, and I was just stealing my brother's guitar all the time, and he gets super fucking mad at me. And I just like try and play it as much as I can when he was like either at work or out with his friends, and I'd always just go into the room and just fucking like play his guitar. And he was getting fed up with it, and I was running into another problem where everybody I was jamming with always needed a bass player. And I remember it was like, once again, the serendipitous shit just happens at the right time. I had a guitar teacher, Mike Lelevier, and he was like, you know what, dude, if you switch to bass, like you'll have a lifetime of work.
Yeah.
And he was like, you can stay as a guitar player, and it's like I can teach you like this, but it's like, you look, if you take up guitar, like bass guitar, like you're gonna get so much work, and like I think you'll do great at it. And it was just like I'd made the switch, and literally Slowco Mike Lelevier, that guy, him saying that to me like changed my life. Because then it really became that situation where it was like, wow, you're a bass player? Like, come jam with me. And it's like, I had all my brother's friends now, like, calling me to do bass gigs and to fill in. And it was like, other bands were like, oh, fuck, you're a bass player. Wicked. Like, come jam with us. So then that happens, and then, I don't know, stuff happens. I start getting into a lot of, like, I start drinking way too much and just not caring and stuff. And I start losing a bit of focus. And that's when I moved up to Halifax. And I met like my guitar player in Last Call Chernobyl, and then started doing bass with him. But once again, it was like because I was a bass player, he needed a bass player. Like Last Call at that point when they were called Written in Dust, I think it was what they were called. Yeah, it was like they were just like, we need a bass player, and I was like, holy fuck, I'm a bass player, and it was just like once again, it just happened, and and then that obviously I toured around a little bit with them, and then from that it was just. The exposure from that gave me the opportunity for Organ's Curse and all these other projects that I'm playing in, like Kirk Dodds, including Outliers.
Shout out to Kirk.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They're great guys, and like I played with a lot of bands in between since then, and probably will afterwards. But that's kind of how that happened. But main thing was literally just the angst.
Yeah, man. Fuck. Something about... And it kept just getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Like the progression of music I was listening to.
Yeah.
It just like... struck the deepest chord, you know? It was just like...
I know.
The music just gave me chills. It would make my hair stand on end. It would leave me awestruck, you know? And it still does that. I tried doing this little project with some guys, Anton and Alex Rathel and all them, and it wasn't like we weren't going to go into heavier realms for sure. And we never actually... I just got so swept up with work and other things, and it didn't seem like my heart was really in it. Al really wanted to make this really danceable, marketable, funky, cool, jazzy band, and I was into it. At least I thought I was at first, but I think I might be kidding myself. As I was getting deeper into the project, I think I realized more and more that I just wanted to play some heavy fucking riffs, man. It's like all I wanted to do, and it's like we were talking about earlier, like the scope of which I was willing to like play in a band is actually like narrow as hell. I'm not one of those people who's gonna be well versed in a number of genres. I'm not one of those people who's gonna be like an on-call session guy who can play anything, anytime, anywhere with anyone. I wanted to play like my own original music with, you know, influences from my bandmates and their original music, but I wanted it to be heavy, and I wanted it to kick ass and be groovy as fuck like that. And just something about it, you know. I think it had a lot to do with that young anger for sure.
I know, because like that escalation, like it totally happened with me. It was like, oh man, you already have this identity crisis growing up in like Cape Breton as like the only brown kid pretty much in the community, and it's like, holy shit. And it's like puberty comes, everything else comes, and like it mirrored as complexity got greater in my life, how heavy the music got. And it's like, I still listen to a lot of heavy music, but like it's surely gotten much more rare. Yeah. Like I listen to a lot of other stuff now, but it's like that heavy music is still there, but it was just funny how like it totally mirrored that 100%. But I guess where I ended up after everything was said and done for the most part, and where I see myself musically in the foreseeable future is literally just like, I kind of am like still a bass hoe. And I think it's one of those luxuries where it's like being a drummer or like a good clean vocalist. You can just be more of a, like, you know, a proverbial hoe with the instrument because there's less people playing it.
You're right.
You know?
There's a million guitar players out there, and sorry to guitar players, I'm one of you, but holy fuck. Like, I think it was
I is too.
Yeah. The bass player from Primus, I think the whole reason he started playing bass too was because he knew he would get more work. Yeah.
There is a supply and demand thing to it.
Yeah, and there's like one drummer for every fucking like 30 bands that exist, and then, you know, maybe 5 bass players for every 30 bands, and then there's like 10 million guitar players for every 30 bands.
Oh man, the math just worked out for me.
Yeah.
And once again, it was because, and I realized in retrospect that, like, you know what, I was cut out to be like a numbers guy or a business guy in some kind of entrepreneurial pursuit, because it was like, wow, I almost even based that artful decision on numbers.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
So like, I've also was wanted to ask you too, like, because when I mean, we played lots of shows together and did some little mini tours and stuff. And, and I never like really knew you that much aside from this like sick dude I was at shows sometimes, and you know, I liked talking to you and hanging out with you and playing with you and drinking with you and all that stuff. I never knew about this whole like business savvy kind of numbers guy, and so
didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know. Then, like, you know, when we started playing together, geez, how many fucking years was that ago? You know, like, it was, like, and I always say this, is like, it's really, where I'm at now is, like, just an amalgamation of my failures.
Man, fuck yeah. As it should be. Yeah.
It really is, though, because it was, like, I knew, going into like my because I was one of those kids, and like I've been very fortunate like in my lifetime. Like my folks are immigrants, and it was like they worked their ass off, they built a business, and it's like I didn't pay for the lion's share of my post-secondary education. And I remember I went right into it because that's what my elder sister did, that's what my elder brother did, that's what everybody in my family did. They went right into university and pretty much churned it out pretty fucking quick. And it was like I followed suit. And I remember I was in liberal arts, like doing a poli-sci degree or something like that. I was like, I gave my parents some bullshit story that I wanted to be a fucking lawyer. Yeah. Just to satiate them. And it was like...
just chewing that.
Yeah, just chewing that for a fucking year and get off my fucking back, right? And anyways, I knew it was a lie, and I was lying to myself, and I was like, fuck, like, I hate this. I hate what I'm learning. Like, this is definitely not what I want to be. And I think I did a job shadow one day, and I was like, oh, fuck, that's definitely what I don't want to be. Because a starting lawyer is just like, that's a tough hustle. And anyways, beyond that point, I love lawyers, by the way. Once again, it's one of those things where
we
like, wow, you're fucked up.
I'm glad some people are doing it because I don't want to fucking do it.
But anyway, so then I took 2 years off from university, and I at one point, and that's when like the Warped Tour thing happened. That's like when I really just like I was trying to make it in music in some way, shape, or form. I was working at like fucking Sobeys, and I was just trying to make I was trying to figure out some shit about myself and make music work. Because, like, all I knew was this is the only craft I've ever been good at. I want to try and floor it and see what happens. And, like, some great shit happened. Right? Like, during that year, those couple of years off, it was like, yeah, I managed to do, like, a fucking North American tour with one of my metal bands. Like, what? And it was on Warped Tour. Like, what the fuck? What are the odds? Once again.
Oh, fuck. Next to nothing.
Like, what? Yeah, exactly. And now it's, like, fucking dead after 2018. So this is it. I'm almost thinking about going up to one of the Canadian shows just for posterity. But anyways, it was like, you know, you do all that, and it's like 2 years is coming up, and like my dad just like, he didn't complain about a single fucking thing, that whole thing. And, you know, I have another story about that if we have time. I know we're already like been talking for like fucking 3 hours probably, but like, it was weird. He didn't say anything while I took these 2 years off. And he was just like, look, he was like, son, like, I don't care what the fuck you want to do, but he was like, I'll be damned though if you don't finish this undergraduate and just use that money that I put away for you for its intended purpose. So he was like, meet me half fucking way. I don't care what you do after this undergraduate, just fucking finish it, get out. I don't care. And I will never question you again. I was like, wow.
That's a golden ticket right there.
He was like, he means fucking business. Anyways, and then I was just like, all right, cool. And I was kind of like, but then I was like, then I came to my next barricade, which was like, whoa, what the fuck do I don't want to do liberal arts. I'm like, I'm not a science guy. I'm not an engineer guy. Like, what do I do? And I was like, I looked back at those last 2 years, and I was like, what did I do? I connected with people. I talked to people. I sourced things. I was crunching numbers. I was pretty much running like a little mini business with a band and like being a comptroller of sorts. So I was like, wow, I should do commerce. I was like, that's probably what I'm like. That's already kind of what I'm doing. I'm sure this wouldn't be a big hurdle. And I went in and I did it. And I came out, and then it was just like I had this commerce degree, and I was like, wow, you know what? Like, I do want to do something with commerce, but I don't know what. Now it's like, do I really want to be a finance guy? Do I want to be an accountant? It's like I just kind of had this diploma in my hand, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't. Well, it's not even a diploma; it's a goddamn undergraduate, and I was like, I still don't know what I want to do. Like, and I ended up at a call center. And then I remember I was just shopping around. It was like TD Insurance gave me a call, and it was just like, I don't know. It was like, oh yeah, let's do some like sell auto and home insurance and shit. And I worked there for a little bit, and I was like, wow, I don't even mind like what I'm talking about with people, but it's like I hate this call center setting. I hate this fucking bureaucracy. I hate this bullshit. I hate reporting somebody. And it was like I got talking to this guy, and he was an old buddy of mine, and I think he was just trying to make me one of his clients. And really, like, I almost flipped it on him because I was like, by the second meeting, I was almost like, man, like, I'm really interested. Like, what do you do? How do you get paid? And, like, what is your day? And, like, the way that he explained it to me was just like, wow, it's pretty much like you're an entrepreneur. And it's like I'm dealing with people's finances, and, like, I'm connecting with people. And I was just like, and I remember he named it off, and I just linked up all these kind of skill sets that I had that were in line with what he laid out with me. And it was just kind of like, that is something that like I would probably be interested in, because I hate bureaucracy. I love an entrepreneurial endeavor. Like, I love building things, and that's what I liked about the band even more than anything, was like kind of this. It was an outlet for me to explore entrepreneurship without even knowing it.
Yeah.
And it was just thing that like, and every band always has it. Every band I feel has like this little bean counter in it.
Oh,
and
it
it's like,
needs it.
what?
It needs it.
And they need it. And like, like a good band is always comprised of, you need the bean counter and you need the guy who's just the creative genius. Very, very few bands have that in one individual. Like maybe a rare example would be like the Dillinger Escape Plan. You have like a guy like Ben Wyman, like lead guitar player, and it's like he is that fused together. Like, and you like that's the golden ticket.
Yeah.
And anyways, I just figured out it was like, through this weird thing of like running into people and once again just doing things and eating a lot of shit and failing at a lot of things. And I went over to Investors Group after TD. I pretty much chose that as a finance firm, partial headhunt. And it was just like I went over there and I did fairly terrible at it for the most part. And they had my Achilles heel, my like coup de grace at Investors Group was literally they changed the management. They had a guy called Jason Carney come in, and on Bay Street in Toronto, he's known as Jason Carnage for what he does to companies, which is a very inauspicious indicator of what was to come. And I just remember I had a conversation with one of my managers, and he was just like, you might want to seek greener pastures.
Yeah.
And I was like, fair point. And I was like, I'm like, maybe I'm not cut out for it. I don't know. And it was like, I left. And I worked like a contract job. I tried out at another insurance firm, and it like, they just didn't work out. And it was like, but I learned skills from every single one of those. Like, I learned from the contract job that it was like, no. Because I thought at first, I was like, I give up on this whole entrepreneurial thing. Like, this whole commission only, build your own business thing. Like, maybe it's not for me. And I was like, I went back into that microcosm of like 9 to 5, and I was like, wow, no, fuck that. Like, that is the worst. I can't do this. Like, and if I'm going to do this till I'm like 60 or 50, like, no fucking way. I will kill myself before like this is all over. And I was like, I know I can't do that. And it was like my last kick in the ass. And I went, I went to the insurance firm first, and I was just like, I won't name names or anything like that. But I went over, tried it out, and I was just like, I can do better than this. Went over to the 9 to 5, and it was just like, it was the last kick in the ass where it was just like, I can't do a 9 to 5. I just don't have the biology for it. And I just remember I came in, and like that whole time though, I had kind of like this goal, and like once again, full circle, law of attraction.